do robot fights, and they were awesome. I went away to college and went to the engineering campus and saw I had to take math classes. I do not like math. Nobody told me coming up that in order to be an engineer, you had to take the math classes. So I say this to say, True to You does that. It embraces what you like, but it educates you on what it takes to be where you're going to be. Now, in a future world, could I have taken the time and been an engineer? Probably not, because I can embrace that it was just something I didn't like to do. But I can imagine the money that we could have saved years ago if someone had said when I went to those little camps, there was math, there's this, there's that, you have to do this. So we have to be mindful that when we direct a young person, my parents put in my mind very young that you can be an engineer. That's great. But no one told me what it took to be an engineer. That's the beauty of True to You. We embrace what a child wants to be, but we educate them on what it takes to be there. Next, engage. You have to be willing to engage young people where they are. One thing that we tell you is that True to You is 3 hours. It is not 3 hours. You do need to prep before going. And the reason is because every young person, you'll find out that your group is very different. What works in this group may not work in this group. I had a group who did not like to read aloud. I didn't question why they didn't like to read aloud, but by session 2, I knew that was not a good thing. Session 3, in my pre-work, it was a lot of reading. So what I did was I just got something, created bullets, and we had that activity in a discussion. Why? Because had I tried to make them do it in a reading manner, I would not have engaged them. If I had tried to make them do it in a way that I knew wasn't going to work, it wouldn't have been engaging. So if it's not engaging, I'm not reaching my audience. So I always try to get us to engage where we are and engage how they learn. You are not educators. Well, I don't know, some people might be, but the majority of us are not teachers. So I don't want you to go in there thinking you're teaching them. We're enlightening them and we're engaging them in a process. So it doesn't have to be where everybody's doing something and they have the exact same outcome. It has to be where you see they may be asking a few questions, or they're responding, or they're even talking about what you're talking about. That's engagement. We are not here to try to teach. And I think a lot of times, especially when we do these kind of programs, people get, well, they didn't get it. They may have not gotten all of it. But if you enlighten them on any part of it, then you've done your job. Encourage. One thing about encouragement is that we believe that it is standing on the sidelines, either cheering or rubbing you on the back and saying good job, or just saying, wow, you're so awesome. Encouragement is a two-way street. Encouragement to me, in the way that I apply it when working with young people, is understanding when they're reaching out and supporting them. You may sit and do a whole overview of a project, and then someone comes and says, Miss Julie, can you explain that to me again? That is their way of finding out if you can encourage them to keep going. If you say, well, you should have listened the first time, you've shut them down immediately. Encouragement is really showing that I'm willing to be there to support you moving forward. And those are some of the main things you're going to see. You're going to see young people who ask you questions over and over. It will get aggravating sometimes, but to me, that's letting me know that they want to learn or that they want to know. So with the purpose of you working in tandem, so that you are able to do that. You are able to take that time and encourage those who may need a little more versus those who pick it up and are able to run with the ball. So in this, I like to always say your goal is to enlighten, we embrace, we engage, and we encourage. These are the main things that I want you to take away, because and when I say you cannot lead where you will not go, it simply means that if you're not willing to take that time and find out who you are dealing with, there's no way you can engage them. There's no way you can embrace them. There's no way you can encourage them. And there's absolutely no way you can enlighten them. So as we move forward, these are just some of the nuts and bolts of what we're doing. The strengths-based model. True to You focused on developing our young people through strengths. That goes to finding out to the point of when we see, oh, you do this very well. Once you get into the curriculum, you'll see that there's really, if you like this, and this, it really shows you what kind of path you should take. Now, do not discourage someone who is good at something but says, what about this? I've never heard of that. We encourage them to jump out of their comfort zone. Because when you jump out of your comfort zone, you learn a lot more, not only about yourself, but about things around you. We have a way of looking at things as resourceful and resilient. Our young people come from various backgrounds, period. Some of them come from higher backgrounds than others. One thing I like to say, somewhere someone was talking about in this program, the demographics of Cleveland. Well, the demographics of Cleveland are what they are. There was a sheet that said, the kids they're number 2 in poverty behind Detroit. There's 100% free lunch. There's all these statistics. Well, we know what those are. But I tell anybody, I'm not any good if I'm hungry either. And I'm not 100% poverty, but it's just what it is. So we have to be mindful that while we look at statistics, that doesn't gauge who you're dealing with. That's just an overarching statistic of what the demographic of who you're dealing with. I had someone come to me once and say, I've never dealt with a group of people who everybody got free lunch. Well, all y'all came to this meeting and ate free, so technically everybody in here came in here and had free lunch. You can't look at things from a one-sided, perspective. When you hear things like this, people tend to formulate opinions in their mind. But I always try to say, just look at it from another angle. People are people. It's just how you engage people. Next, the model is centered on valuing the capacity and skills and connections. One thing about MyCom is it is a community-based model. And the reason that True to You works so well within it is because we connect the kids to things that are in their community. If you have a young person that talks to you about really wanting to, I really wish I knew a lot more about veterinary services, let us know, because some of our partners in the community may be able to get them that information. That's why we say it is a connection model, because we have so many partners in this area who are able to work with our young people above and beyond what we're doing. The thing is, focuses on not ignoring challenges and spinning struggles into strengths. That goes back to when you see a young person who is not comfortable reading, it's not saying that I'm going to ignore that fact. It's going to say, okay, how do we spin their struggle and making them still be able to participate? All too often, you've had young people who have been isolated because they may have had a struggle and they were not, so we just said, okay, we'll come back to you. We try to spin that. How are you able to help? How can you assist this group, and how can we move forward? This is something, these are the key do's and don'ts, and I'm going super fast because I'm on a time limit, but I'm hoping that if there's questions, we can do them at the end. Get to know your mentee and try to understand how things are for him and her. That's kind of my example from the beginning. It is not necessary that you share your life story, but it is necessary that they see you as people. Because if they talk to you and you put up I'm just here on Thursdays and I can't tell you that, you'll never really get to know them, because not knowing someone else, embracing someone else is really a sense of self as well. And just your comfort level. Whatever your comfort level is. Like I said, I share my story about my husband because right now that's what's going on. And I get like the water cooler conversation all the time. My situation is different, but it's not for me to tell you how you should view any situation. Be positive, patient, dependable, honest, and sincere. In a nutshell, do not be fake. If you are fake, they will see you coming from a mile away, they will spot it, and they will want no connection with you whatsoever. There is nothing wrong with saying, I do not know. I don't understand. I've never been there. Can you explain? What do you think about that? Can you enlighten me? That doesn't diminish your role as a mentor. It doesn't diminish your role as an adult. It simply lets them know that you're a person and you're willing to learn from them as they are to learn from you. The next thing, appreciate your mentee's culture and ethnic background and strive for cultural reciprocity. What that means is simply learning what's interesting to them. We're not asking you to go home and try to go on any specific TV show and say, I need to find out what they're watching. Oh, they were talking about, I'm not asking you to do that. But I am asking you, if they're speaking about something and you don't know, just ask. If it's something of interest to you, you may learn something. And share about yourself. I was at Bureau. It was a school, bilingual school. I did not speak a lick of Spanish. I understood a little bit because I took it in college. But what was so interesting was as they talked about all the different things that were going on certain days, we learned because we asked questions. And I think that just let them humanize me for them, because I didn't just say, okay, well, I don't know what they're talking about, I'll just stay out of it. I tried to join the conversation and say, oh, well, you know what, this is what well, in my family, we've done this. This is one of our traditions. And I think that sharing lets them know not only, you're not just interested in them to see what they're going to do in college, you're interested in them as people. Be an active listener and use language that's easy to understand. We know you're smart, but we don't need all your big words. They're not necessary when you're trying to be a mentor. Make sure and I always say an active listener is when they're speaking, if you don't know, repeat it. So what you're saying is this. Because otherwise, if they're talking and you don't understand, you're going to eventually be lost in the sauce and everything is going to go haywire. Active listening simply means if they're trying to explain, take that time and say, okay, what you're saying is this. And what often happens is when they're trying to tell you what they want to be, they don't know, they may not know the name. And we haven't gotten to that particular part where they break down all the different careers. Just say, okay, so explain to me, and then just kind of remember that. Just be an active listener. Goes back to be straight, honest, and sincere. I put that up there twice because that's really important. Really, really, really important that you know sincerity is key for everything. And then the next thing is, if you're going to miss, we know that life happens. We know that work happens. But what we really appreciate is if you let your mentor partner know, let Molly know, let someone true to you, let me know, someone. Because what happens is they're going to act like they don't want to see you, but once they get that rapport, they are looking for you on that Thursday. And if you are not there, it's easy for your partner to say, oh, she got called away to work, or she already let us know she wasn't going to be here, so this is what we've done to accommodate you all, versus, I don't know. We'll figure it out, because they've had enough people. Everybody in this room has been let down. We are all people who have been let down. It is not a good feeling. Imagine if you're a person who's had that happen to you repeatedly. That's just not something we want to introduce into their lives through this program. Simply because there are enough people. I'm a floater this year, I think, unless I go back to Bureau, I really want to come her, but depends. If that's the case, and you can't make it, she'll send me out. She'll send someone. But the reality is, once they get that rapport with you, they are looking for you. Don't expect to have a rapport with them. They already don't like you. You know why? Because you're just another adult coming in to tell them something that somebody's probably already told them. Now, what you'll know is this. You are at a disadvantage because we don't know what's been told about you. Your group may have had the teacher that said, this is what true to you is, this is what you're going to do, this is what's going to happen, be prepared. Your group may have had someone say, I don't know, they said y'all had to go, so you're going. Your group may have been told nothing, so when they walk in, hey, what's true to you? So you don't know which group of kids you're going to get. So don't expect that they're all coming in there ready and willing to learn, because we're at a disadvantage. Have we promoted it in the schools? Yes. Have we talked with key teachers? Yes. But it does not mean that it has trickled down to the young people, because some of our kids are transient. They may have just come into the district that day. I had a young man who came the very first day and they dropped him in the True to You. He was like, this is my classroom? I'm like, is this your first day? And this is when I was at Charles Elliott. So his very first day, they walked him in there. He didn't go to his homeroom, so he knew nothing. So I'm saying don't expect them to just be super excited, because we don't know where they're coming from. Next, do not share your personal problems. It is not their business that you and your husband got into it on the way and your daughter forgot her book bag, so you had to rush over there and then somebody rear-ended you. You know why? Because they feed off of that. If you walk in already showing them that you've had a bad morning, that sets the tone for how they're going to receive you. Oh, Miss Tamika, what's the matter? Y'all know something wrong? Miss Tamika, and that's going to take away from you, because it's going to spend 30 minutes of them trying to figure out, and then if you tell them what happened, that's another 30 minutes of them discussing your business versus discussing what should be going on and true to you. Now, I do tell people that over time, when they get in discussions, some things have happened, and that's your comfort level. I've worked with girls for 12 years, and none of them knew that my sister was killed by her boyfriend when she was in high school. But over time, someone found out. So when they asked, I felt comfortable to share. That's how I got into doing the work that I did. But I never came in making, well, let me tell you guys why I work with girls. Because then I made that program be about me versus it being about them. And this program is about them. Do not be convinced that they mean what they say. You're going to get that person because they're going to test you. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be the biggest drug dealer on the east side. Guess what? You spend that. You want to be a businessman and an entrepreneur? I hear that. Let's talk to you about that. Because what they're going to do is test to see what you're going to say. And if you're like, oh my goodness, already they've got you where they want to get you. Don't believe that it's a test because you're the new adult in the room, and let's see what we can do. Do not pry to the young person's life. What I mean by that is we are going to have situations where you want to know what's going on. I always say it's most prevalent winter months. You'll see someone coming in and they'll have on baby doll shoes, wet. You know, you get out the car in your big coat and your boots. You know it's freezing and wet. And then they slush in with little shoes and their feet may be wet. And if you say, oh my God, where are your boots? Well, she knows she don't have boots on. She doesn't know. She doesn't have them. I always say when you do that, it puts them on the spot. If you see that they may be a little wet, I always used to say, okay, I see you're a little uncomfortable right now. Do you want to take a moment to get yourself together before you join the group? That usually allows them to feel a little more safe, and they'll go off, and if they have to go in the restroom and do whatever. But when you say, oh my God, you came here with no coat, that makes it look, well, where's your coat? You're then getting into personal business. That goes into the next thing. No money, no gifts. We don't do that. And the reason is because there's two reasons. One, how comfortable would you be if your child came home and told you some lady gave her $20 that she met today in a group? You'd be like, well, who is this lady and why is she giving me $20? The second thing is you become the $20 lady. Because then, Miss Tamika, can I get $20? Oh, what's going on? I said, sure, baby. Where you get that? Miss Tamika, guess what? Well, I'm in her group. She didn't give me $20, so you become the $20 lady. You have to have boundaries. Because even though we care about the young people, we have to differentiate ourselves from being their mentors and their encouragers and being their friends and caretakers. The next thing, do not violate confidences. I wanted to say period, but the reality of it is when they come to you and if you find something out, you must report. In this program, as in any program working with young people, you have a duty to report. You should tell your lead teacher and make sure that they follow up. In our case, we ask that not only you report it to your lead teacher, but to your true to you lead, because we will then follow up with that principal to make sure that the concern was passed on from that lead teacher. I ask that you do not have conversation, even if you could be, sometimes you may hear something that rattles you and you're talking to another mentor. One thing you need to know is our kids know each other's circumstances more than they know each other by name. So if you're in the hallway saying, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. I had a student who just told me that they came home and the lights were out and it was freezing cold, and someone hears and they know most of our kids know each other's circumstance. They're going to say, Miss Julie was in the hallway talking about you, when that's not what Miss Julie was doing. So just be very mindful of your surroundings, because we don't know who the young people know, but they know who they know.
Can I ask you what a crisis intervention exception is?
When we say do not break confidences, that simply means if a kid comes to you and they may be saying, I'm having a bad day, I just feel sometimes things are not going my way, and that's just kind of a conversation. If they say, I'm having a bad day and I want to blow up this school, that's a crisis intervention. You then have a duty to say, okay, I do need to share what you've just shared with me. See, those are the different small things that, because they may just, like I've had kids come in, say, what's the matter? I'm just not having a good day. Period.
Okay.
You know, and I'm just, you know, it could be something. So me and my brother got into an argument, and he just really made me mad. That's just something that happened with, you know, and that's just you all sharing. If it goes to a point where it's a detriment to themselves, others, or you, then that requires a crisis intervention, and you must report it. We talked about key don'ts. We go through the guidelines because she's walking around the side. That means I need to hurry up. Authenticity and consistency. Real quick, that's the fakeness we talked about. Students are looking to connect with adults who listen. That's the active listening we talked about. Mentors and students should not exchange contact on social media. Do not Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, any of that. If you get a request from I'm the coldest from 79th, guess what? That's not anybody that you hang out with on a regular, so do not accept that request because they're going to look for you and they typically don't use their real name. So if it's one of those funny names, just make as a habit, caution, ignore it. Only authorized program staff should take pictures. If we bring in photographers to photograph you and photograph the young people, do not take pictures on your phone. I had a lady ask, what if they take pictures of us? Let us know who that is because they should, number one, they should not even have their phones. If they do, they should not be photographing you. And the last one, do not contact them outside of school. When we talked about connecting them to resources, we have young people who you'll find out have an interest in something that you know how to connect them to. Be mindful of taking their name, referring it back to us, and we will do our best to make that connection for you. Because when you start to have a relationship with them outside of work, it is no longer something that we can control. So we can't control what they said you said or how they said you said it at that point. Finally, working with students. If you feel the student needs more support, we talked about that. That's the dual model. Pull them aside, work with them. The key teacher should be there to support. They should not take this as a coffee break and leave. There should be a teacher in there. They may have to float because it may be one teacher for the 8th grade or whatnot, and they're floating around. That's the key teacher. But you should have support there. Relax. Have fun. Once you get into this, you're going to find these kids are so much fun to hang around with. And if you, once again, the main thing, if you're unable to attend, please let us know. Advice, high energy, you know that they're kids. Building relationships, get to know them. And if there's any returning mentors who has anything, that would be great. Otherwise, if anyone have any questions for me? Going once?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, kids' names, do they have name tags or do they?
Yes, they get the name tags. You also get a roster. Okay. But note that will change. Okay. We have kids who may have started off here and then they're somewhere else, or they may be added throughout the year. As they update, we try to get those updates to you as soon as possible. Yes, ma'am.
Do we get our school assignments today?
No, not everyone will get their school assignments today. We're still when do you anticipate? Next week?
This week. If you finish the screening process, you'll get it this week.
This week, okay. Yes, ma'am.
If we need kind of coaching or help, have questions throughout the year, do we have people call?
Absolutely. We do webinars. We do drop-ins. When before the sessions, we're doing those again, before the sessions where you can come in and do the tutorials.
We're going to talk about all
Yeah, okay, well, great. She's going to talk about that before. But yes, we've always offered that, so this year will be no different. Going once? Going twice? Thank you. You've been awesome, and I'll be outside if you have any